Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, LoFi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and Week 15 is upon us in the NFL, and we got a huge matchup in the NFC West to open things up as the 9-4 San Francisco 49ers head to Seattle to face the Seahawks. And this should be a really, really close competitive game between these two teams. Brock Purdy, he looked really, really good in his first start for the 49ers. He played really well. I think the Niners got that running game going too last Sunday. And for Seattle, they had probably their worst loss of the season. Geno Smith probably played one of his worst games of the season, throwing a couple of interceptions. But in this game, I think Geno Smith plays pretty well. I think he bounces back this week. He plays pretty well. But I also think Brock Purdy is a pretty good game too. I think this is close. It comes right down to the end. But I'm going to take the team with the better roster and the better record and I won't say the better coach, but with the better record and the better roster. And that's why I got the 49ers winning this game 23-20. But Justin, can Geno Smith bounce back this week and keep the Niners' hopes to win the NFC West alive?
I don't think so. I got the Niners as well, 23-16. As you mentioned, Geno Smith that first time around, they really struggled. Their offense, that's probably their worst game of the season. And I think the Niners get after him after Geno Smith. I know there's a chance they can get Kenneth Walker back, but if not, I think they're really going to struggle to be able to run the football in this game. And I think, and if they have to be one-dimensional, I think that makes it even easier for San Francisco to get after Geno Smith. And I think that's going to make the difference in the ball game. I know that Seattle's a tough place to play, a primetime game, but I just think the Niners right now, even with Purdy, maybe he shows a little bit in his first road start, but I have the Niners going on the road getting a victory.
Yeah, I think the Niners I think they're going to win this game too. And I think they proved last week they're clearly the second best team in the NFC. They're a better team in the Cowboys and they're a better team in the Vikings, even with Brock Purdy, because I feel like the coaching is really good. The roster, there just isn't much weaknesses on this Niners roster. I mean, Purdy is unproven, but they got a good offensive line, great running game. Debo did get hurt, which definitely could play a factor in this game, I think. But Debo did get hurt, but they got one of the best tight ends in the league in George Kittle, and their defense is the best in football. I mean, with Bosa, with Warner, with Greenlaw, with Tre'Davious Ward, with the safety. I think Hongo, I'm trying to pronounce his last name, but I think right now the 49ers proved last week they are clearly the second best team in the NFC.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, the way they dismantled the Buccaneers, I know it's a Bucs team that's really struggling, but they absolutely dominated that game. Their defense is just making it, it's and their defense really stepped up even more last week. Um, and just they gave Tampa Bay fits. They weren't able to get anything going. And yeah, I know hopefully for them, Debo's back before the playoffs, and there's a chance you might get Jimmy G back by right around kind of maybe we're in the NFC Championship game. And again, I think Brock Purdy can get you to that point with kind of how wide open the NFC is right now. So yeah, this Niners team's right there, and they still got a shot to I think win the Super Bowl because yeah, their defense is playing really well. Maybe there's a chance to get Jimmy G back.
Yeah, they definitely answered that question last week that they have a chance to win the Super Bowl because the way they beat the 49, the way they beat the Buccaneers, the way this roster was, and the way Brock Purdy played. I had questions for him before last week, but after last week, I'm convinced they have a real. I still think the Eagles are a little bit better, but they have a really good chance to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Purdy made a couple of really nice throws last week. Again, maybe being a 4-year guy, he maybe wasn't too rattled coming in this moment. It kind of, he's an older guy that's played a lot of football, and you kind of see, he wasn't really intimidated by the moment. But I think the Eagles are still a little bit better than them, but I think the Niners could go there in Philly and still have a chance. Maybe with Jimmy G, I would feel a little bit better about that. But right now, Eagles, the way they're playing, the way they just can hurt you anyway offensively. The Eagles a little bit better, but that Niners the Niners defense will absolutely keep them in a ball game with the Eagles, even if it's Purdy starting. It may be in the NFC Championship game.
Absolutely. Now moving on to the huge game in the NFC East on Sunday night between the Giants and the Commanders. Both teams 7-5-1. Both teams played 2 weeks ago to a tie. This game is massive for both teams. And I think this game for Daniel Jones, this is the biggest game of Daniel Jones' career. Jordan Renan said it on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. This game could very, very easily determine, this game could very, very easily determine what the Giants do with him in the offseason. I mean, if he has a bad game in this spot, Daniel Jones is 0-9 in primetime games. And his stats are 12 touchdowns, 13 picks. Now, some of these losses were not on him. The game in Philadelphia 2 years ago where Evan Ingram drops the ball, that's not on him. They would have won that game if Ingram caught the ball. The game last year where Dexter Lawrence jumps off sides. So not all of them are on him, but he has definitely had some bad primetime performances. You remember last year against the Bucs. Remember 2 years ago against the Bucs. We remember that game against the Steelers on opening night where he threw that horrendous interception. So he definitely has had some bad primetime games. And if you're walking out of if you're Joe Shane and Brian Dable and you're walking out of this game with Daniel Jones being 0-10, for me, I would have Daniel Jones back regardless of what happens because I think he's played well enough to be back next year. But for a new regime like Brian Dable and Joe Shane, a quarterback that's 0-10 in primetime games, that's definitely going to get them to really think about if they want this guy coming back next year. But for the game, I think this is a close, competitive NFC East battle. But I do think this is going to be Saquon's best game since the Houston game. It's got to be. I think he finally has a big game for this team. I think I think Daniel Jones plays mistake-free football. And the biggest key is I think he makes less mistakes than Taylor Heineke. I do think the Giants defense is going to force Heineke to make a mistake or two. Because Heineke does throw that one bad interception a game. And I do think the Commanders will have some success running the ball, but not a ton of success. I think it's low scoring. I think it's close and competitive. But I'm going to go with the Giants to win this game 23-17. But Justin, can Taylor Heineke lead the Commanders to their 8th win of the season?
I think he does. I get the Commanders 21-14. I think, they're coming off a bye. They've just been playing. Washington's playing really, really well. It's something too in this game where both teams aren't really explosive offensively. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think Brian Robinson does enough on the ground. I think Heineke makes enough plays, and I think Terry McLaurin has a couple of big receptions in this game. As you know, the Giants secondary hasn't been great, and I think that's something Heineke's going to be able to expose on Sunday night. I think their receivers made a couple of big plays in this one. I think Washington gets out ahead. I think, are able to stay ahead, kind of, be able to run the football well enough, use play action. I think Washington at home finds a way to knock off the Giants.
And again, that's the big key to the game is which team can get a big lead. Yes, in the first game, Washington got a 10-0 lead, but the Giants, but by halftime, the Giants tied the game. It was 13-13. So really, but if Washington can get a 2 or 3 score lead in this game, or whatever team gets at least like a 3 score lead, a 2 to 3 score lead, I think wins this game. I think, and if whoever could shut down the run game is going to win this game as well. I think obviously it's going to be close and competitive, and obviously we talked about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley too. This is a huge game for these. This is a much bigger game for those two players than the organization itself, because the organization, Joe Shane and Brian Dable, they're going to be back regardless of what happens. If the Giants lose this game, and like I said earlier, this team could very, very easily be moving on from Saquon. If they lose this game and don't make the playoffs, I could see this team moving on from Barkley, and I could see him moving on from Barkley, and I could see him moving on from Daniel Jones. Probably Jones more likely than Barkley, because they did try to get something done with Barkley during the bye week. But I could very easily see this team moving on from both if they don't win this game, or don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. Yeah, because I think if you don't either, and as you mentioned, if Jones doesn't play well, I think you're going to hear probably from some fans that still don't believe Daniel Jones is a guy. And, they're going to be hearing the noise that they want somebody different than Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for the future. He hasn't played awful. But yeah, the last couple of weeks, the offense just, again, it's something where if they're not getting ahead, they're not a team built to play from behind. And again, that part of it's because all the wide receivers are hurt. I think they have a good wide receiver core. Yeah,
Daniel Jones, I think, has potential to make to bring teams to make comebacks in games. The receiving core is obviously clearly the biggest issue, and we've been saying it all year.
Yeah, that is, and that in the offensive line, I think he's been sacked the second most time for a starting quarterback.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, outside of Andrew Thomas, the offensive line hasn't been good at all.
No, it hasn't. That's been another thing. So it's not all on Daniel Jones. But I do think, as we know, the quarterbacks get more blame and they get more praise than any other position, probably in all of sports. So it's a tough spot. And if they don't play well on Sunday night, it's going to continue to hear the same thing. And they got to make the right decision. But, I think it depends. Like, if you get Daniel Jones back for a couple of years, like $20, $25 million, I think that's not a bad deal. I don't know what he's looking for, but yeah, it's totally a big one for Jones and Saquon Barkley to go on the road and get this win on Sunday night.
Absolutely, without question. Because looking at it right now, if the Giants beat the Commanders and they beat the Colts, they're in the playoffs. They're definitely in the playoffs, because the only way they wouldn't be is if the Seahawks and the Lions ran the table. And listen, I definitely don't see the Seahawks running the table. Looking at what they have, with them having San Francisco and Kansas City back to back, I definitely don't see the Seahawks running the table. And the Lions, yes, they're hot, and there's definitely a good chance. Look at their schedule with the Jets, Green Bay, Chicago, and Carolina. But are they good enough to win 4 in a row? That tie was huge for the Giants, because that eliminates the tiebreaker with the Seahawks and the Lions, and that's why if the Giants win the next 2, they're definitely in the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. That 9th one will get them in. Yeah, because I'm with you. I kind of think after last week, maybe Seattle's kind of magic this year, maybe starting to run out. And the Lions, they have played well. I still don't trust that defense a lot. They got a tough one this week going to the Meadowlands, or going to New York playing the Jets. But yeah, their schedule's kind of favorable as well. But yeah, if they can get this one, and I can't see them losing to the Colts. Again, we've talked about it. Going to Minnesota is going to be tough, but I think that's a game, the Giants could win. I think, I know we'll talk about that game next week, but I think it's a game that Giants could win as well. So, yeah, I think if the Giants win this one, I think there's a very, very good chance they'll end up in the playoffs.
Absolutely, without question. I think if they win this game, Jordan Renan said earlier today, I think if they win this game, they have an 80% chance to make the playoffs, because they're pretty much assuming they're gonna take care of business against the Colts. So this is huge for both teams, because even Washington, if they win this game, it's tough playing San Francisco and Dallas, but they do have Cleveland sandwiched in between, and Cleveland hasn't played. Deshaun Watson hasn't played that well, and that game at the end might not matter to Dallas. So really, the winner of this game has a great chance to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely do. And it's a big one for Ron Rivera, because I know that seat has definitely cooled off. But before the year, kind of that 1-4, 1-5 start they had, it was not sounding good for Ron Rivera. So yeah, if he can get to the playoffs, absolutely guarantees himself another year next year.
Oh, without question, without question. I mean, yeah, I think it's actually, in terms of the organizations, I think this is actually a bigger game for the Commanders as an organization because Ron Rivera could end up getting fired if this team doesn't make the playoffs. But for the players, I think it's a huge game but for like Jones and Barkley, it's a humongous game for them because if they lose, they're not back. Dable and Shane, it doesn't matter how the season ends, they're definitely back.
Yeah, absolutely. For the Giants, it's definitely bigger for Jones and Barkley. Then for the Commanders, with kind of all the stuff going behind the scenes with Snyder and all that, it kind of maybe take a little bit off of the organization. That team can find a way to get to the playoffs. And Ron Rivera, it's big for him because they've been playing so well, and if they kind of tank here down the stretch and they can't finish, there's definitely a chance that he's not on the sidelines next year. So yeah, absolutely, I could see that for an organization wise, this is definitely means more for Washington.
Absolutely. We got a big game at MetLife Stadium this Sunday as the red hot Detroit Lions travel to the Meadowlands to face the Jets. It looks like Mike White is going to start. Quentin Williams, we'll see if he plays or not, and that definitely could make a difference. But I think this game is really close and competitive. I think Mike White. I think Jets. The key to the Jets is they got to be able to run the ball. I don't care who's even in the backfield. If it's Bam Knight, or I think it's going to be Bam Knight. They got to be able to run the football in this game. That is a big key for them because if they don't have a big day on the ground, I think they lose this game. But I do think they have a big day on the ground. I think Jared Goff has a decent game, but not a great game. The big thing with Jared Goff this year is at home, 20 touchdowns, 3 picks. The team is 4-4. On the road, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's been a different quarterback away from Ford Field. And I don't think he plays terrible on Sunday, but I think he makes that big mistake late in the game. And I think the Jets pull this one out. I think Mike White makes less mistakes than Jared Goff, and I think the Jets are the team that pulls this one out. I got the Jets going to 8-6 and winning this game 24-20. But Justin, can Goff stay hot and keep the Lions in the playoff race?
I'm with you at the Jets as well, 24-21 in this one. Yeah, as you mentioned the stats, Goff, it's definitely helped playing the dome. Now this week you're going out to the cold winter of the Meadowlands. I think there could be a little bit of struggle. The way the Jets have been playing, I know they lost a tough one last week to the Bills. But if Quentin Williams be able to play, the Lions defensive line's been pretty good, but I think Quentin Williams up front could kind of disrupt that running game. And I think the Jets defense plays well. And I think Mike White, for the guts to have going back out there last week, I think they're able to control the clock. And I think Goff, I agree, makes that like one key interception this game that cost the Lions the game. And I think the Jets at home figure out a way to knock off the Lions.
Yeah, this is and again, as we've said, this was a big game for Daniel Jones. This is to me a huge game for Jared Goff because you look at the Rams and you look at them struggling, they could have a very, very high pick. And if Jared Goff keeps losing games on the road and keeps not playing well on the road, I know he's played really well at home, but if he keeps struggling on the road, the organization's probably going to say we probably want to look at one of the quarterbacks. So this is a huge game for Jared Goff and for the Jets. They're ahead of schedule, and if they get to the playoffs, great. But if they want to win this game, obviously they got to be able to run the football and they got to be able to play good defense, which I'm confident they're going to play good defense. Are they going to be able to run the ball? That's the question. But ultimately, the big story in this game is this is a huge game for Jared Goff if he wants to be the starter going forward in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's been talk, that Lions could go out and go find somebody this offseason or in the draft. I'd wait second round and go get Jake Haener out of Fresno State. I think he's going to be the best out of this class at the quarterback spot. I'm not really sold yet on Stroud or Young, but especially with all the weapons they have, Jameson Williams in his debut looked really good. You got Swift and you got another kind of capable back in Jamal Williams when Swift's been out this year. It's been good. St. Brown's had a really good year. So with all the weapons the Lions have, if they don't think Goff's the guy kind of here to get them the playoffs, and if he kind of struggles on the road this week, I could see the Lions definitely making a move at quarterback if they do think there's a better option out there, because the defense needs some work, but that offense has been really, really good. And if Goff's the one that holds them back, then absolutely, that I think they would go out and go try to find another quarterback in the draft, or I don't know, maybe they like somebody that they could trade for. That's possible. I could definitely see that happen this offseason.
Yeah, I mean the thing is Goff. Yeah, he's been great at home, but and if they didn't have that the Rams didn't have that high of a pick, I think they would keep Goff. But just seeing where that Rams pick is going to be, and seeing where what the future of this team could be. Say C.J. Stroud is on this team, and say C.J. Stroud is the quarterback, and he pans out. This is a perennial Super Bowl contender. If they could improve on defense, this could be a perennial Super Bowl contender for the next decade. Because the talent they got on offense. So this is a huge game for Jared Goff, but also big game for the Jets. It would be good for them to get to the playoffs for the first time in 12 years.
Yeah, absolutely would. It's been a while. New York obviously would love to kind of because it's been a while really since both teams have been relevant, and yeah, they're right there with the Chargers. New England's right there as well. It's does hurt that they lost that tiebreaker that in head-to-head meetings, but yeah, it's a big one because you got the short week with the Jags coming up here Thursday night next week. So yeah, if the Jets could win this one, they could be going to Seattle here, 9-6, kind of looking good to get a playoff spot. So yeah, for the Jets, it's absolutely a big one. It's a big kind of 2-game homestand here for them to try to position themselves for the final couple weeks to make a playoff run.
Absolutely. I mean, if they want to be in the playoffs, I think they need to beat both the Lions and the Jaguars, and they may have to win that Dolphins game at the end, because you look at the Chargers' schedule coming up. It's pretty easy. They got. I mean, the Titans won't be that easy, but they got the Titans, they got the Colts, they got the Rams, and they got the Broncos. So their schedule is very favorable, and they very easily can go 11-6. So the Jets, I think they may have to win that Miami game to get in. So they unlike in the NFC where you can get in with 9 wins, I think you're gonna have to get to 10 in the NFC where you can get in. Unlike the NFC where you can get in with 9 wins, in the AFC you're gonna have to get to 10.
Yeah, being absolutely see it. As you mentioned, yeah, the LA schedule is not great. After this week against the Titans, yeah, there's a possibility they could kind of finish up 3-0. And yeah, for the Jets, yeah, that Dolphins one. Maybe they can lock into a seed, and maybe you get some of the backups that game. That's maybe a possibility, but we'll see when the time comes. But yeah, the AFC's kind of been loaded. There's been a lot of good teams in it, and yeah, it'll be a big one for the Jets to find a way. And yeah, it's a game 2 at home where I know it's a pick 'em, but I do think they're a little better. And then with the Jags 2 next week, it's 2 games. I feel like the Meadowlands will be rocking for those 2 games to try to get them extra there to help them get the win, help them get to the playoffs. But it's definitely a couple of big 2 games here because the Chargers could possibly here, if they can find a way to beat Tennessee this week, could find a way to win out the remainder of the schedule.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to a big matchup in the AFC East on Saturday night as the Dolphins travel to Buffalo to face the Bills, and the weather conditions are supposed to be terrible in this game. And I think Tua is going to struggle again. I think he's going to really struggle, and he's going to throw a couple picks. I think his accuracy was terrible last week. I think that continues. I think they have trouble running the football. And I do think the Bills have a little bit of trouble on offense due to the weather, but I'll trust Josh Allen more than I trust Tua in bad weather. And that's why I got the Bills winning this. And I'm going to win it by 2 scores. I got the Bills beating the Dolphins 24-10. But Justin, can Tua lead the Dolphins to a sweep of the Bills?
I don't see it. I got the Bills 24-14. And yeah, you talk about the weather. They had the Dolphins actually had the heaters on last week when they were in LA, and it was 55 degrees. So
wow, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So now you're going to Buffalo where it's good chance of snow. It's going to be in the 20s. So I can't imagine Miami's going to want to be out in those elements here. So I got the Bills. I think Tua's going to show in this game. And if it's snowing, they've struggled to run the ball all year. And I think they kind of struggle against the Bills again this week. Yeah, I think Tua makes a couple interceptions. I think the Bills find a way to win this game by a couple scores. I think they're going to struggle. I think that Bills defense could get after Tua this week. And yeah, and then again, it's been a tough stretch for the Dolphins with the back-to-back, West Coast trips. And then now a third straight road game back in Buffalo, in a short week. The NFL didn't do him favors with that either. So I think, that's kind of been tough scheduling for him. So I think that could have a factor on him as well. So I think the Bills win this game by 2 scores and get revenge.
We got a big matchup with your team. Big matchup not for the Raiders, but for your team as they travel to Vegas to face the Raiders. The Patriots are currently right now the 7th seed in the AFC. And for this game, I think what's going to hurt the Patriots is their injuries this week. Because there's a chance that Jack Jones and Ramondre Stevenson might not play, and I think that's going to hurt them because I don't think the running game will be like it was on Monday night. I think the Raiders will contain the running game. I do think Mac Jones will make some plays in this game, but I don't think he's going to make a big mistake. And I do think Derek Carr is going to play pretty well. He hasn't played great this year, but he has 2 really good skill guys with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. I think both of them have pretty good games against the Patriots. I think this is close and competitive and come down to the end, but I think Max Crosby is the one that makes a play at the end where Mac Jones is trying to drive the Patriots down for a game-winning score, and that's why I got the Raiders pulling the upset and beating the Patriots 27-23. But Justin, can Mac Jones keep the Pats in the last playoff spot in the AFC?
I got the Raiders 23-16. I think McDaniels doesn't call the game of his life this week. I just have a feeling that he's been saving everything for this game Sunday afternoon. We can't block anybody. And I think Chandler Jones could have a big day. Max Crosby could have a big day. We've not been good at the tackle spot. That's my big worry. It's been the outside kind of spots where we haven't been good at all. And I think those two are just going to absolutely wreck us. And I think, I like the way Pierre Strong ran the football, even Calvin Harris ran the football the other night. But yeah, I don't know if we'll have that much success against them this week. Jones has been playing better. That one interception last week, probably should have the pocket awareness to know that that ball was about to get tipped. But I think he makes some plays, but I just think again we just can't finish in the red zone. We kick a couple field goals, and I think the Raiders bounce back. They've been, last week the debacle there, in LA, but I think then the Patriots too. We just run the same 4 plays. It's a screen. It's a run up the middle. It just it's not that hard to prepare for. And I think Patrick Graham, he loves to send pressure. I think they do, and I think Mac it's gonna be one of these games where I think he's gonna get sacked 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, if they don't run the ball, I could see that. With Max Crosby on the other side, I could really see Mac Jones getting sacked a bunch of times. Yeah, I mean, they won on Monday night, but a big reason why they won was Kyler Murray got hurt, and you saw the coach on the other side. That coach has got to be fired. That coach is absolutely terrible. I mean, he's absolutely terrible. He's got to be fired. He's awful. I've never seen more offensive penalties in one game in a long time. The Cardinals were absolutely terrible on Monday Night Football. The Patriot offense was okay. I thought the defense did play pretty well, though. So I do think if they can contain Jacobs and get pressure with Uche and Judon, Uche's really stepped up. Judon's obviously had a great year. If they can get pressure with those guys, I think they win the game. But I just think they're going to have an issue with Josh Jacobs in this game. I just think they do. And that's why I do think the Raiders pull the upset. And Jack Jones, obviously, has had a good year. That's going to be a loss. And Stevenson, it's going to, I think, could very easily be a loss in this game too. If Jones and Stevenson don't play, those guys can definitely be losses. So that's why I don't think the Pats win this game. But say the Pats do win this game, I still think they got to find a way to win 2 of those 3 games against the Bengals, Dolphins, or Bills, because I do think it's going to take 10 wins to get in the AFC. But the Dolphin ones, if they say they win this game, that Dolphin game is going to be huge on New Year's Day. That's going to be a huge game. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets flexed to a 4:25 or a Sunday night game, because if they could say they could beat the Dolphins, they could potentially have tiebreakers against the Jets and the Dolphins, and then there's a very good chance, and they also have the tiebreaker against the Chargers. So then there's a very good chance they beat the Dolphins. If the Dolphins is one of those wins, I think there is a chance, a very good chance they could get the number 7 seed. But I still think it's you're still gonna have, even if you win this week, I still think you're gonna have to win 2 out of 3 to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, if we can find a way this week, we're going to have to. The way the Bengals are playing, I kind of imagine. I know it's Foxborough, but I think that one's going to be difficult. I'm hoping, that Dolphin game could get flexed out, and it could be a Sunday night. Could be a nice, 15 degrees, windy up there.
Cold, where that crowd is loud, and Miami is just out of it again. Miami has owned you guys though since Brady's left, but
Yeah.
I definitely could see you guys winning that. I could see you guys winning that game. I don't think you're gonna, but I could see that out of those three, that's definitely the game you got the best chance of winning at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I have to keep cheering for the Bills and hope that they got that one spot locked up by week 18 where Allen's sitting, Diggs is sitting. I think that's the only chance.
Yeah, and that is possible. Say they went out and Kansas City loses a game, but I don't think Kansas City is looking at their schedule. I think they got Seattle, Seahawks,
Raiders.
No, I don't think they should lose a game. They got Houston this week, so I don't think they're going to lose a game for the rest of the year. So, I think that game is going to matter for the Bills for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's probably gonna, and we're probably gonna need something like last Monday night, the last game last year, and then Monday Night Football, where it was just windy. That's kind of how we're gonna have to win that game somehow, where they can't throw the football, or we need a blizzard. So, we're gonna need the weather. Probably for the Dolphins and the Bills game to be on our side and just kind of muck it up. That's kind of what we're best at doing. So, those would be tough ones. Cause I do agree. Again, if the weather can impact the Bengals game, but their defense is playing really well too at the moment, where I just don't, I think the Bengals Bengals, I don't think there's much of a chance of winning that one, but the Dolphins and Bills, would be huge. They could find a way to win those two.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the Bengals, they will head to Tampa to face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And I do think this game is going to be close and competitive. Bengals have some injuries with Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. So I think this game is closer. I think the Bucs compete in this game. But I think the issue is going to be, I think the Bengals defense is going to force Brady to make a mistake or two. I think Joe Burrow is going to play mistake-free and throw a couple touchdown passes. I do think Mixon has a decent game on the ground, and that's why I got the Bengals going to 10-4 and the Bucs going to 6-8. I got the Bengals winning this game 27-20. But Justin, can the Bucs bounce back this week and keep their lead in the NFC South?
I think the Bengals got on 24-20, and I don't think I've ever seen Tom Brady so frustrated before. He is, it's been a rough year for him. I can't imagine their offense plays as poorly as it did last week. But they got to get Evans and Godwin going this week. They haven't been able to run the football at all, and I think that's kind of what's hurt them too. I know they've been banged up on the offensive line pretty much all year. I think their defense keeps them in it. Right now I just don't think they make enough plays. Again, they had 6. It took them 55 minutes to get in that Saints game. And that's because the Saints kind of just sat back and for a while, and kind of just let them get a couple completions, and it ended up they were able to find a way to score late 2 touchdowns in that game. So I just right now the Bucs, I still can't count out Tom Brady, but right now there's the way they're playing. I can't see them right now being the Bengals, who are just playing really well. And I think on the road, Cincinnati finds a way to knock them off.
This isn't a Super Bowl contender. I mean, I've been a defender of the Bucs since Brady's came there. This is not a Super Bowl contender. They're not good enough defensively. They don't stop the run anywhere near the way they did the last 2 years. And Brady, I still think he's a top 10 quarterback, which is amazing at 45, but he is not on Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Josh Allen. Or Jalen Hurts. He's not on that elite level anymore. He's a tier below the way he's played this year. He's still good. He's not great anymore. I know it's hard for you to admit that as a Brady fan.
No, yeah, it is. And again, I could see it, and I wonder if things would be different if that offensive line was healthy. And if they got some sort of running game going, maybe things would be a little bit different right now.
Yeah, but the problem now with Brady is he has to rely on other things to be good for him to be a top quarterback. Back in 2013, he didn't have to rely on that stuff. He could just be great with anything and get to an AFC Championship game. He could carry. There were years where you didn't re-sign guys, and he carried you to the AFC Championship game. Now this version of Tom Brady is just still good. I just don't think he could do that anymore.
No, yeah, I think and again at 45, it's tough to kind of be the hero week in and week out, and you're kind of you're seeing it in the NBA with LeBron starting to kind of look like he's taking that step back. We've seen it with Rodgers this year, so yeah, I think this era is kind of coming to an end, maybe, very soon. So yeah, again, he's not the same. Yeah, he hasn't kind of been the same this year. And I think Bowles too, some of it, he's just so conservative as well.
Bowles is a bad coach. Todd Bowles is a bad head coach. He was with the Jets. I think a lot of people made excuses for him because of the organization he was in. They said, oh, yeah, wait till he coaches a good team. No, Todd Bowles is a bad head coach.
No, yeah. And again, the offenses, I think, that hasn't helped the offense this year. He's just been so conservative, and it's been a lot different, that now that they don't have Arians. That's another thing, maybe they'd be a couple wins better with Arians, but I don't think it would be much better with everything that's gone on this year with them. So, yeah, it's not the same Tom Brady, but yeah, at 45, I can't. It's tough to expect them to be the same guy that he's been the last 2 decades. It really is, but you're kind of starting to see a little bit of decline for him. But I just and again, I think part of it too, just kind of the team around. It's just been a really rough year for him.
Absolutely. So we'll get to some of the Saturday games. We'll get to the 4:30 game first with the Ravens and the Browns. And I think this is a close, competitive game. But even though the Ravens probably won't have Lamar Jackson, I'm still picking them to win this game because of their running game. J.K. Dobbins came back last week, and he made a big impact. And I just don't think Deshaun Watson is playing very well right now. I think he's very rusty. He did not play well in his first 2 weeks. I think that continues this week because the Ravens defense is going to limit Nick Chubb on the ground. And that's why I got the Ravens winning a close, competitive game, 23-19. But Justin, can Watson help the Browns get revenge on what happened to them in week 7 against the Ravens?
I think they do. Got the Browns 20-16. First home game for Watson. Another week of practice with those with his offense, I think helps him a little bit. And I think for the Browns to kind of give him the edge, because who knows who's starting at quarterback for the Ravens. And I think the Browns are going to be able to throw the ball a bit as well. And I do think that will open up for Chubb. Again, I don't think Watson's not played well. I think he plays a little bit better. I think he plays well enough. And again, the Ravens last week kind of benefited off 3 turnovers. I don't think they, I think it'll be a little bit tougher this week to do that against the Browns. I think at home, they'll figure it out. I think Chubb has a good enough game on the ground. I think Watson, is able to get the ball to wide receivers, to Peoples-Jones. Maybe Cooper can come back this week, or even getting tight ends and Harrison Bryant, or could have a decent day. So I think the Browns figure out a way at home to do enough right now against the Ravens, which I don't know who's going to start at quarterback right now.
Yeah, we're not sure. It could be Tyler Huntley. Probably Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown, because I doubt Lamar is going to play on Saturday. But we'll go to the first game on Saturday between the Colts and the Vikings. And I think the Vikings win this game. I think we win it by a couple scores. I think the Colts may stay competitive for a little while, but I think Ryan's going to turn the ball just like they did in the not to the level where they did in the Dallas game, but I think they're going to turn the ball over a couple times in the second half. I think Kirk Cousins is going to throw a couple touchdown passes too. I think he's going to play a pretty good game. And I got the Vikings winning this, getting back on track, winning this game 27-13. But Justin, can Matt Ryan lead the Colts to an upset win in Minnesota?
I don't think so. I got the Vikings 27-20. I think Ryan's going to get sacked a couple times, but I think he'll make some completions because the Vikings just, they give so much cushion.
Yeah, they play that. They play that zone coverage that everybody is carving up right now.
Yeah, and I think Ryan will have some success against that. And I think Jonathan Taylor will have a decent game on the ground. I think the Colts will play well. I think they'll move the ball against this Vikings defense, but I don't see them being able to keep up. They're just not gonna be able to score enough in this one. But I think a big turnover by Matt Ryan is gonna hurt him in this one. But I do think they keep this thing close because of how bad the Vikings defense has been. But they just don't have the offensive weapons to outscore the Vikings.
We got a interesting game in Jacksonville this week as the Cowboys travel to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Cowboys did not look like a Super Bowl contender last week. Dak Prescott didn't. Outside of the last drive, Dak Prescott struggled. They almost lost to the worst team in football. And I think this team is good. I just don't think this team is great. And I think this is going to be another week where they're going to struggle. I think they're going to end up losing. If Lawrence is healthy, I might change this pick. If Lawrence is healthy, I think they lose this game because there is not a quarterback. Because since week 9, Lawrence has been outstanding. 9 touchdowns, 0 picks. The team has gone 3-2. And I think he has a big week this week. I think he has another really good game. I think he throws a couple touchdown passes. And I do think Dak's going to throw another pick. Since Dak has came back, he's thrown 8 interceptions. He's had 3 multi-pick games. He has proven this year that he is not a great quarterback. He is a tier 2 quarterback. You could argue he's top 10. He's definitely not a top 5 quarterback. He's definitely proven that this year. And I think this is where the Cowboys get upset. And they're looking ahead to the Eagles, the huge game against the Eagles. And you saw Micah Parsons talking junk about Jalen Hurts. Worry about playing the Jaguars and worry about winning this game before next week's game. I think the Cowboys, this is their mentality. This is the culture there. I think they're going to be looking ahead a little bit. And I got the Jaguars pulling the upset 28-24. But Justin, can Dak get the Cowboys to 11-3 before their huge matchup against the Eagles?
Yeah, you're convincing me to change my pick here. I got the Cowboys 27-24. You may be right. The Cowboys last week were kind of playing around with the Texans, and they got lucky to win that game. Yeah. And yeah, as you mentioned, Lawrence has been playing really, really well. I think he does have another big day this week. But I think Dallas offense is a little bit too much for him. I think they do spread the ball. Evan Ingram had a nice game last week. Christian Kirk's had a really nice year for him. I think the Jags score some points, but I think they do struggle a little bit to slow down the Cowboys offense, and I don't think they keep up enough. And I think the Cowboys find a way to avoid another scare this week, and I get the Cowboys 27-24.
Two questions about these two teams. The first one is how far do you think Dallas is going to go in the playoffs? Second, is Trevor Lawrence, is he better than Justin? Would you take Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields right now in terms of the best quarterback in the 2021 draft class? For me, I think the Cowboys lose in the first round to Tampa. That's crazy to say, but I think they lose in the first round of Tampa. And right now, last week, made me say that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the 2021 draft class.
For the Cowboys, I will say yes, they lose to Tampa Bay. I still think Tom Brady at home. I think the way they played last week, Dallas, I could totally see it, them finding a way to lose another game. And yeah, for Lawrence right now, I would have to say yes. Again, Justin Fields looked a lot better the last couple weeks. I know he's been injured. It's mostly been with his legs. I think he's made a couple of really nice throws. But again, Lawrence does have a lot more pieces around him offensively, which helps.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And Doug Peterson as well has made a huge difference for him.
Exactly. I think the thing, though, with Fields, though, is those fourth quarter picks. That fourth quarter pick against the Lions, that fourth quarter pick against the Packers, that fourth quarter pick against the Falcons. I think Justin Fields is really good. He's just got to cut down on those late game interceptions. And Trevor Lawrence has thrown some bad interceptions, too. He had that bad interception against the Broncos that cost them the game. But I really think Trevor Lawrence is really starting to develop as like a top 15, top 10 quarterback, especially over the last month.
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen it since after that bye. It seems like they've really figured some things out. Outside that Lions game, they've played really well. So yeah, I could see. Again, Lawrence is there was a lot of pressure on him to come in because everyone's saying he was like the next kind of like Andrew Luck out of the draft. Like he was the not miss guy, and all that. And I think there's a lot of pressure. And for what happened last year with Meyer, I think set them back a little bit. But absolutely, I think, and I think I said it after the Lions game, it wasn't the Lions game. It was right around after, I think it was their first win after the bye. He sounded a lot more confident and and just the tone of his voice, like it kind of sounded like, he was starting to get confident. And you do see that with that offense right now. So yeah, right now I do think Fields is, better than Fields right now and everybody else and all the other quarterbacks in that draft class.
But I think it's close, but I take Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I take Lawrence over Fields by a little. I think Fields is very, very close. But moving on to another game, and it is Justin Fields as his Bears face, I think right now is clearly the best team in the NFC with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I like Justin Fields a lot, but this game's not going to be close. The Eagles this is one of the best rosters in football against one of the worst rosters in football, and it's going to show up on Sunday. I think the Eagles get pressure on Fields, force a turnover or two, and I think Miles Sanders has a big game on the ground. I think Jalen Hurts throws a couple of touchdowns, and I got the Eagles winning another game big. I got the Eagles beating the Bears 34-13. I assume you got the same, Justin.
Yeah, I got the Eagles 28-13. Kind of wonder how healthy Fields is because this is the day where I think he's going to have a lot of pressure on him all day long. And I think the Eagles do whatever they want on the ground. And even through the air, I think they make a couple plays with A.J. Brown. He's been really good lately. So yeah, I think the Eagles do whatever they want. Maybe Justin Fields early on makes a big play, keeps them in it early, but the Eagles will pull away and they should win by at least 2 scores.
Another game which I think is going to be a complete blowout, and this is the Chiefs and the Texans. I think the Chiefs win this game by a ton. I know the Texans competed last week and played hard, but they're not going to have their best player this week in Dameon Pierce, and I think it's really going to show. I don't care who plays quarterback, if it's Jeff Driscoll, if it's Davis Mills. I think the Chiefs defense has a big game, forces a couple turnovers, and I think Patrick Mahomes throws 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I got the Chiefs going to 11-3, winning this one 34-10. And again, Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got Chiefs 31-13. Yeah, I think Houston may have spent all their energy last week in Dallas. Yeah, I think Kansas City bounces back. Their defense didn't play well last week against Denver. I think they do a much better job on that side of the ball this week. And yeah, Mahomes does whatever he wants against his defense. It's gonna probably be a long day for the Texans. And yeah, Chiefs win by probably 3 scores.
NFC South matchup in New Orleans as the Falcons travel to New Orleans to face the Saints. This game means something because the NFC South is absolutely terrible. But in this game, I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the more experienced quarterback. I think Kamara has a good game on the ground. I think Dalton throws a couple touchdowns. And I do think the Falcons run the ball pretty well, but I do think the Saints forced a couple turnovers from Desmond Ridder. And that's why I got the Saints sweeping the Falcons, beating them 24-19. But Justin, can the Falcons get revenge on the Saints from week 1?
I think they do. I think they find a way 20-17. I don't like the way the Saints have played. Turnover bugs has really hurt them. I think Desmond Ridder does enough. Again, kind of 2 weeks to prepare for this game. I think, could definitely help them in this one. I think they run the ball well enough against the Saints. I think he makes enough plays through the air. He can make some plays with his feet in this one. And I think the Saints have a big turnover or 2 in this one. And I think the Falcons capitalize on it. They've been playing, they haven't been great, but they've played hard all year. I think they find a way to knock off the Saints this week.
The Steelers travel to Carolina to face the Panthers, and I think this is a game where the Panthers defense forces a couple turnovers. I think it's going to be Mitch Trubisky playing instead of Kenny Pickett, so they force a couple turnovers from Mitch Trubisky. I think Sam Darnold manages the game. I think the Panthers have success on the ground, and I got the Panthers after this Sunday. Who would have thought this after they fired Matt Rule? I got the Panthers sitting in first place after this Sunday. I got the Panthers sitting in first place at 6-8. I got them beating the Steelers 20-17. But Justin, can the Steelers ruin the Panthers' playoff hopes?
I'm with you. I got the Panthers well. I got the Panthers 17-13 in this one. Sam Darnold's he's been playing. He's been playing well enough in this one. They looked good last weekend. I know against a bad Seattle. A bad Seattle defense. With Mitch Trubisky, he didn't look great last week. And I think a couple of turnovers helped the Panthers this one. I think they get after them. The Steelers kind of converted back to the early season kind of woes. Turnovers, penalties hurt them. And I think that could be the case again this week with Mitch Trubisky behind center. I think Sam Darnold makes enough plays. And I think they find a way at home to win another one. And yeah, crazy that the Carolina Panthers would be in first place.
Now, who would have thought it after they fired Matt Rule after week 5? We got a big game in the AFC as the Titans travel to LA to face the Chargers. I think the Titans stay in it early because of Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry has a bunch of rushing yards, but the problem's going to be is Ryan Tannehill is not going to convert those red zone trips into touchdowns. They're going to be kicking field goals, and I think the Chargers. You saw what Trevor Lawrence did against the Titans defense. I think it's Justin Herbert's turn to have a big game against that Titans defense. I think he throws he throws 3 touchdown passes, and I think that the pass rush. I think Khalil Mack makes a play, forces a turnover from Ryan Tannehill, and that's why I got the Chargers winning this game. And I got to win it by 2 scores. I got to win it 31-20. But Justin, can Derrick Henry carry the Titans to an upset win?
I think they do. I got the Titans 24-23. I don't trust the Chargers.
You do not like Brandon Staley.
Oh, I don't. No. I just feel like this is a game they should win, but I feel like every time it is, they find a way to lose a game like this. And I think, I know the Titans secondary has been atrocious, but I think I think Vrabel finds a way to out-scheme Brandon Staley. I think Derrick Henry, I think the Titans just control this game. With the ball, in Henry's hands. I think, they have the ball for at least 35 minutes in this game. They just play keep away. And I think they do it well enough because, Henry's going to have a big day on the ground because, Henry, I think they're just going to struggle against them. I do think Justin Herbert, when he's got the ball, I think they do make plays, but I think the Chargers found a way to lose a game. In games where they should win, I just feel like, they always found a way. And again, last week, they, beat the Dolphins, but,
yeah, they had 6 trips to the red zone, and they only got and they kicked field goals, and then they kicked like 3 field goals, and one time they didn't even make it. They should have kicked the field goal, and they didn't.
Yeah, and that's Staley's problem. It just that, and I think that's something that could cost them this week. Yeah, I think they drive the ball, but I think they make mistakes or kick a couple field goals in the red zone. And I think that's why the Titans go on the road, and they're not a great team, but I'll take Mike Variable over Brandon Staley any day of the week.
We got an interconference matchup in Denver with 2 coaches that should be fired at the end of the season, with Nathaniel Hackett and Cliff Kingsbury. This is going to be an ugly game. It's really, really ugly, but I'm going to go with the home team. I know Russell Wilson's not going to play. Kyler Murray's obviously not going to play. He's out for the year with a torn ACL. But I'm going with the home team here. I'm going with the home team 17-16. And Justin, who do you got in a game of 2 terrible teams?
Yeah, I got the Cardinals 17-14. I had this game in a tie, and I was like, all right, let me just, and I decided to go with Arizona. I think Colt McCoy plays well enough. I think plays a little bit better Brett Rippon. I think both defensive lines are going to get after, the other quarterback. And, I'll take Cliff Kingsbury to find a way to win a game in December over Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, both teams are horrendous. Actually, I was thinking about it. So I think the one other time I've seen that many offensive penalties a game was the Jesse James game where Trent Brown had about 6 false starts.
Oh, really? Really, really?
Yeah, I think that's the only time I could think about a team having more offensive penalties. But yeah, I'll take the Cardinals, find a way on the road to win.
All righty, then we got the Monday night game, which we thought was going to be a great game before the season started between the Rams and the Packers, but it's obviously now 2 teams that are out of playoff contention, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game, but I'm going to take the Packers. I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. I think their defense is going to force a couple turnovers from Baker Mayfield. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to have the week he had last week, and that's why I got the Packers winning this one 19-14. And Justin, who you got here?
I had the Packers 23-10. It's supposed to be a high of 3 degrees. I'm going to end up in Lambeau. I can't imagine the Rams are going to want to be out there and play in this game. I think the Packers win by 2 scores. They do whatever they want. I don't think the Rams are going to be there or going to want to be there. So I think Packers play well. Rodgers has, Christian Watson gets going. He plays well. I'll take the Packers to win by a couple scores at home.
All righty. The Giants, the San Francisco Giants, made a huge free agent signing. And it wasn't obviously it's not the free agent signing they originally thought not the free agent signing they wanted, but they said they got their consolation prize. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so last night the San Francisco Giants made a big move signing Carlos Correa to a 13-year, $300 million deal. It's a ton of years for Correa, but the Giants got that. After they missed out on Judge, they got their guy. And the big question is are the Giants World Series contenders with Carlos Correa? And I still don't think they're close because they're probably going to lose Carlos Rendon in free agency.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they're there yet. So rotations, as you mentioned, Rendon's not going back. And Minaya, I don't think he's going to fill that hole because, again, a lot of pitchers when they leave Oakland have kind of struggled. And I think that will be the case with them. And, that lineup, still has some veteran kind of pieces that I know they got rid of Longoria and Belt, but, I think there's still a little bit of work to be done there for the Giants.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the next question is: are they a playoff team with Correa? And I don't think so either because Rendon's going to leave. I think eventually, now they have a ton of years to build around Correa. They eventually, in 2 or 3 years, I think they definitely are going to be a playoff team or even a World Series contender. But right now, I still think they're like an 80, 81 win team because they're behind the Padres and the Dodgers, and they're probably definitely going to be playoff teams. You look at the Cardinals; they're probably going to win the Central. They're going to be a playoff team. And then you look at the East; they're going to get they're going to get 3 playoff teams with the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves. So right now, I don't think the Giants are a playoff team next year with Correa.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's too much of a hill to climb over the Padres and Dodgers. And that National League East, you're going to get those 3 teams, and I don't think they're there yet. I think like an 82, 83 win team next year. Definitely down the road in the next couple of years, I think they will. I think their farm system's pretty good, but I think they're still another year or 2 away. They had a nice run 2 years ago, but a lot of those guys just had career years, and last year you kind of saw them really come back down to earth. And Correa helps a little bit, but not that much.
No, not at all. And Correa had kind of a down year last year too, so I definitely don't think they are a playoff team next year, even with the addition of Correa. But in the future, this is the superstar they can build around.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's a good talent. He's done well in the post. He's played well in the postseason. We know about the scandal there, but I think somebody comes in, gives him some youth which is good. But he's somebody. He did have a down year last year. But he's a really good player. He's one of the best shortstops in the game. And I think he'll have a big impact with the Giants. But absolutely not right now. But in the next couple of years with that Giants team, they'll definitely have a couple of chances with him to make a World Series run.
Absolutely. So now we'll shift to the World Cup, and the final is on Sunday. And I'm hoping we get an Argentina-France final. Argentina won yesterday 3-0 to advance to the final to face either France or Morocco. And I really want Argentina-France but either way, Messi is going to get a chance to win a World Cup, which he was close in 2014 but lost to Germany. So even if we don't get France, we will get Messi with a chance to win a World Cup.
Yeah, and I bet that's what the World Cup wanted. He's a huge superstar. Yeah, he played well yesterday. Either France and Argentina be a good game, or even if Morocco somehow gets another upset again. That the run Morocco's been on has been remarkable. It's been a great kind of underdog story, and again that will help too. So either way, I think it'll be good for World Cup in the whole. But Argentina and France could that could be a really good game Sunday.
Absolutely. And we got to wrap up the show talking about some unfortunate news. Yesterday, Mike Leach passed away at the age of 61. He was the coach of Texas Tech from 2000 to 2009, the coach of Washington State from 2012 to 2019, and the coach of Mississippi State from 2020 to 2022. He coached a lot of good quarterbacks. His air raid system is the thing that he was known for. He was an offensive head coach. And he was really a great guy that did it his way, and he was comfortable doing it his way. And that's what you've heard for the last couple of days. Is this was a coach that was comfortable doing things his way and had a ton of success doing things his way. So we are definitely going to miss Mike Leach. I mean, you could always get a good soundbite for him. That was for sure.
Yeah, he's. We always hear these coaches. It's always kind of they're always grinding, 24/7 football and nothing, and all that. And yeah, he was just a breath of kind of fresh air. Yeah. His sound bites are great. Whatever was on his mind, he was going to talk about. And he always kind of seemed to care who was kind of interviewing him. I feel like with coaches, they don't care. He'll, Leach would give you more than a one-word answer. And yeah, the air raid, the inventor of it. And, some of the guys that kind of worked under him, who were his coaches were Dave Aranda, Sonny Dykes, who's, got TCU in the playoffs, Dana Holgerson, Sub Latrilla had a really nice run at North Texas, Lincoln Riley. Yeah, again, that's another one. Josh Heupel, Cliff Kingsbury, he's done a remarkable job. He's one to kind of will never have another Mike Leach. It's crazy. And yeah, he won at 3 schools that it's impossible to win at: Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. So he's a remarkable guy. Definitely one of my favorite coaches to just watch. He did it his way. He's really, and I hope the college football playoff, because you need a 600 winning percentage. He finished at 597, and I hope they make I hope they make a change to that, or just an exception to the rule, because I feel like you can't tell the story, part of the story about college football, without Mike Leach and that air raid, because that has a huge thing now in college football, and it's even trickled its way up the NFL. So I hope the college football Hall of Fame makes the smart decision there. But yeah, we lost an icon, and I feel like college football will never be the same without him.
It won't, and in my opinion, he's definitely a Hall of Famer, a college football Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. He won wherever he went, and those are not, blue blood schools. And yeah, he did it his way. Did a remarkable job. And yeah, absolutely. He definitely is a Hall of Fame for all the guys he's coaching, and the players. He's had some really good quarterbacks, and definitely deserving the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week talking Week 16 of the NFL season and the NBA's Christmas Day slate. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.